Today, we're diving into the world of Cane Corsos, those
Gentle giants.
gentle giants. That's a great way to put it. I've got a couple articles here that I thought we could take a look at. They both focus on some of the funnier sides of these dogs.
Oh, that's great. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, I think so too. So we're not going to go into, the super serious stuff like training or care today.
Right.
But instead, we'll sort of celebrate the breed's unique personality through some of these anecdotes and owner experiences.
I love that idea.
Yeah, so let's get right to it. One thing that really stood out to me is this idea of
The small horse thing.
yes, the small horse thing, like people actually mistaking Cane Corsos for small horses.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty common.
I bet. It's just so funny to imagine walking down the street with a dog that big.
Right.
Have you ever had anyone think your Cane Corso was a horse?
Well, not me personally, but I've heard so many stories from Cane Corso owners who get that all the time.
Really?
Yeah. And, when you think about the breed's history, it makes sense.
Yeah, like how so?
Well, they were originally bred in Italy, centuries ago, to guard livestock and even hunt wild boar.
Wow, so they needed to be big and strong to
Absolutely.
handle those kinds of jobs.
Exactly. It wasn't just about looks. It was about functionality.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So they go from guarding livestock to wanting to be lap dogs.
Yeah, well, that's the irony, right? They've got this guarding background, this history of strength and power.
Right.
But then they'll turn around and try to squeeze onto your lap like a tiny chihuahua.
And they're not tiny.
No, not at all. They might be giants, but they still have that urge to cuddle up with their humans.
It's so funny to picture.
I know, right?
Yeah.
One owner described it as a full body hug because the dog's so big, it's like they engulf you.
I read that.
Really?
Yeah, it was in one of the articles I was reading. I was cracking up.
It's pretty accurate, though. They just love that close connection.
It's like they forget their size.
I know. It's like they think they're still puppies.
Okay. But we can't talk about Cane Corsos without addressing the elephant in the room.
The slobber.
The slobber. I read about one owner who found slobber on their ceiling fan.
Oh, yeah, that's classic Cane Corso.
How is that even possible?
It's notorious droolers. It's just part of their charm.
I guess you just got to embrace it.
Pretty much. You learn to strategically place your furniture and stock up on drool rags.
Definitely. So we've got the small horse stature, the lapdog dreams, and the artistic slobber.
Right.
But then there's also their approach to exercise. They're not exactly known for being marathon runners, are they?
Definitely not. It's more of a why run when you can walk kind of attitude.
I can relate to that.
Right. They're capable of bursts of energy, but overall they're not a high-energy breed.
So those morning jogs with your Cane Corso might be more like leisurely strolls.
Exactly. They enjoy playtime and walks, but they're equally happy with a good nap on the couch.
So they're pretty adaptable.
They are. As long as they get a decent amount of daily exercise, they're content.
Speaking of exercise, what would you say is the ideal amount for a Cane Corso?
Well, it really depends on the individual dog. Some are more active than others.
Yeah.
But in general, I'd say a good 30-minute walk twice a day combined with some playtime is usually enough.
So quality over quantity.
Yeah, it's about meeting their needs without pushing them too hard.
Makes sense. It's fascinating how these seemingly contradictory traits all come together in the Cane Corso.
Right.
Like they're these powerful guardians, but they crave cuddles. They can be intimidating, but then they make these goofy woo-woo sounds.
Woo-woos. Yeah, that's another one of their endearing quirks.
It's like they're trying to have a deep conversation with you.
I know, right? They make these deep, almost mournful sounds to communicate with their owners.
It's so funny and adorable at the same time.
It is. It's like they're trying to tell you something really important.
Like, hey, human, let's cuddle.
Exactly. Or, I'm hungry. Or maybe even, I love you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It really is. They're such expressive dogs.
And speaking of expressive, did you read about those Cane Corsos who get super protective during bath time?
Oh, yeah, that's a classic Cane Corso move. They stand guard by the bathtub like their human is in mortal danger.
It's hilarious.
It really is. But it also shows just how seriously they take their role as protectors.
That's true. They're not just big and strong. They have this deeply ingrained instinct to guard.
Exactly. And that's something potential owners definitely need to be aware of.
So you're saying it's important to address that protective instinct from the start.
Absolutely. Early socialization is key.
What do you mean by socialization?
Well, exposing them to different people, dogs, and environments from a young age.
Oh, I see.
That helps them develop into well-adjusted dogs who can tell the difference between a real threat and a friendly visitor.
So it's not about suppressing their instincts, but more about channeling them in a positive direction.
Exactly. It's about teaching them to be discerning protectors.
So they can be confident and safe.
Right. And that's something we'll delve into more in the next part of our deep dive.
That's right. We've covered some of the more humorous quirks of Cane Corsos today,
Yeah.
but we've also touched on some important aspects of their personality and behavior.
Definitely. And in the next part, we'll explore those topics even further, looking at their temperament training needs and the incredible bond they form with their humans.
I can't wait to learn more.
Me too. This is a fascinating breed. Welcome back. It's been fun talking about all these Cane Corso quirks.
I know, right? It's like we're really getting to know these dogs on a different level.
Yeah, and we've covered so much already, like the small horse thing, the lapdog dreams, the slobber.
Oh, the slobber.
Yeah,
I'm still laughing about that ceiling fan story.
that one's a classic.
It really is. But, we talked about how Cane Corsos aren't exactly high-energy dogs.
Right.
Does that mean they're just couch potatoes, content to snooze all day?
Not quite. They might enjoy a good nap, but they still need regular exercise to stay healthy and happy.
So it's more about finding the right kind of exercise for them.
Exactly. They're not marathon runners, but they love brisk walks, playtime in a fenced-in yard, even swimming.
Oh, swimming. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's great exercise for them, and it's low impact, so it's easy on their joints.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what about games? Any specific ones that are good for Cane Corsos?
Oh yeah, lots of options. Fetch, hide and seek, even scent work can be really stimulating for them.
Scent work. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Their sense of smell is incredible, you know?
Yeah,
You can hide treats or toys around and let them use their noses to find them.
that's a great idea. It's like a workout for their brains.
Exactly. It keeps them mentally sharp and physically tired.
Definitely. And speaking of mental stimulation,
Huh.
I know training is a big part of responsible Cane Corso ownership.
Absolutely. They're intelligent dogs, but they can be strong-willed, so you need to be consistent.
So what are some key things to keep in mind when training a Cane Corso?
Well, first and foremost, they need clear boundaries and rules.
Right.
They need to know that you're the leader, but it's equally important to use positive reinforcement.
Like rewards and praise.
Exactly. Instead of punishing them for mistakes, focus on praising and rewarding them when they get it right.
So treats, praise, toys, all good motivators.
Absolutely. They respond so well to positive reinforcement, and it helps build a strong bond between you and your dog.
That's great. We've talked about their intelligence, their affection, their protective instincts.
Right.
Well, what's it really like to live with a Cane Corso? Like, what's their personality like on a day-to-day basis?
Well, they're incredibly loyal and devoted to their families. They want to be involved in everything you do.
Oh, so they're not exactly independent types.
Not really. They crave companionship and don't do well being left alone for long periods.
So they're like big furry shadows following you around.
Pretty much. But in a good way. They just love being near their humans.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
What about other pets? I read that Cane Corsos can be a bit dog selective.
That's true. Early socialization is really important if you want them to get along with other animals.
So exposing them to other dogs and cats from a young age.
Exactly. It helps them learn to coexist peacefully, but it does take time and patience.
And maybe some supervision at first.
Definitely. Especially in the beginning. It's always better to err on the side of caution.
Makes sense. And what about that protective instinct we talked about earlier? Does that ever extend to other pets in the household?
Oh, absolutely. They often see themselves as guardians of the entire family, including other pets.
That's actually kind of heartwarming.
It is. It's like having a furry bodyguard for everyone in the house.
But I guess it also means you need to be extra careful when introducing new pets to the mix.
Definitely slow and steady is the key, and it's always best to consult with a professional trainer if you have any concerns.
That's a good reminder. It's amazing how we can go from talking about these powerful, imposing dogs to talking about them cuddling on the couch or playing hide and seek.
I know, right? It's that duality that makes them so fascinating.
They're complex, but ultimately they're big softies at heart.
That's a great way to put it.
And with the right approach to training and socialization, their protective instincts can actually become a source of comfort and security.
Absolutely. A well-trained Cane Corso is a loyal companion, a protector, and a source of endless entertainment.
They sound like truly amazing dogs.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive.
We have. We've talked about exercise training, socialization.
And even that unique woo-woo language.
Oh, yeah, the woo-woos. Can't forget about those.
I'm still so curious about that.
Yeah.
What have you learned about it?
Well, it's fascinating, isn't it? It's like they're trying to have a conversation with you in their own special way.
I know. Do you think it's a way for them to express their emotions?
I think so. Some believe it's how they communicate excitement, anxiety, even contentment.
So it's not just a random sound they make.
Not at all. It's
Yeah.
a form of communication, and the more you get to know your dog, the better you'll understand their individual woo-woos.
That's so cool. It's like learning a secret language.
Exactly. And it deepens the bond you share with them.
Okay, so we've talked about exercise training, socialization, even the woo-woos. But there's one more crucial aspect of Cane Corso ownership that we need to address.
Your health and care needs.
Right. And in the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore those topics, discussing common health concerns, responsible breeding practices, and the importance of providing a fulfilling and enriching life for your Cane Corso.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so we're back for the final part of our Cane Corso deep dive, and we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
We talked about their funny quirks, their exercise needs, their training, that woo-woo language.
Right.
But now let's shift gears a bit and talk about keeping these gentle giants healthy.
It's important, and it all starts with finding a responsible breeder.
Yeah, one of the articles I read really stressed that finding a breeder who prioritizes temperament and does all the necessary health testing.
Absolutely. It makes a huge difference.
They even mention asking about hip and elbow scores of the parent dogs.
That's a great question to ask. Any reputable breeder will be happy to provide that information.
So it's not just about finding a cute puppy. It's about finding a healthy puppy.
Exactly. You want a dog that's going to have a long, happy life.
And speaking of health, what are some common health concerns that Cane Corso owners should be aware of?
Well, like many large breeds, they can be prone to hip and elbow dysplasia.
Rice.
And bloat is another serious one.
Bloat, I've heard that's really dangerous.
It is. It's a life-threatening condition that can affect deep-chested breeds like Cane Corsos.
So owners need to be able to recognize the symptoms.
Absolutely. Things like a distended abdomen, restlessness, excessive drooling, unproductive retching.
Those are all red flags.
They are. And if you see any of those signs, you need to get your dog to the vet immediately.
It's a true emergency.
It is. Time is of the essence with bloat.
Are there any things owners can do to prevent bloat from happening in the first place?
Yeah, there are a few things, feeding smaller meals more frequently.
Okay.
Instead of one big meal, and avoiding strenuous exercise right after eating.
That makes sense.
Simple things, but they can make a difference.
It sounds like being proactive and informed is key for any Cane Corso owner.
It is. Knowledge is power when it comes to your dog's health.
Regular vet checkups,
Yeah.
vaccinations, a healthy diet, all important.
Absolutely. Those are the foundations of good care.
It's funny we talk about these dogs' size and strength, but they still need those basic things.
They do. They're powerful, but they're not invincible.
And providing a fulfilling life for a Cane Corso goes beyond just physical health.
Right. You need to keep their minds engaged, too.
So mental stimulation is important.
It's crucial. They're smart dogs. They need challenges.
What are some good ways to provide that mental stimulation?
Well, we talked about training and games earlier.
Right.
But there are lots of other options, too. Things like puzzle toys, interactive feeders, even scent work.
So things that make them think,
Exactly. That's what keeps them happy and well-adjusted.
and of course spending quality time with their humans.
Absolutely. Walks, cuddles, playtime in the yard, those are all essential.
It's about finding that balance, meeting their physical needs, mental stimulation, and of course showering them with love.
That's it. When you get that balance right, you'll have an amazing companion.
Well, I have to say I've learned a lot from this deep dive.
Me too.
Cane Corsos are definitely complex dogs,
They are.
but they're also incredibly rewarding.
There's no doubt about that.
And for those listening who might be thinking about bringing a Cane Corso into their lives, what would you say?
Do your research, find a responsible breeder, and be prepared for a commitment. It's a journey, but it's one filled with love and laughter, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Well said.
Eh.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the world of Cane Corsos.
It's been a pleasure.
To all our listeners, thanks for joining us. We hope you learned something new and enjoyed the ride. Until next time, happy tail wags.